We were asked to come today to try to explain what we did to get radio into our school and kind of give the recipe that we had to do to get it there, because a lot of schools want it. A lot of clubs want to give it to schools, but how do you get it all together? So that's what our presentation is going to be about. Feel free to ask questions during the entire presentation. Okay, that's where I work best. As a teacher, I work best communicating back and forth, not lecturing and then all the questions at the end. So if you have a question, make sure you ask. So first, let's go over who we are. And I went that too quick.
Yep. I like the picture the other way better.
So, our club was started, and this presentation will be done by two people. Okay, we got Jerry Pilot. He's a Hall of Science Amateur Radio Club president, traffic manager for the section from New York, Long Island, section traffic manager. He also is a member of Garden School, FLARC, Kings County, WECA, Orange County. About every club he can get his hands on, he tries to be a member.
I like to use their repeaters, so I like to help fund them. I'm not active in all of the clubs. I'm just active in mine and the Garden School. So I'm not a nut. I'm just crazy.
Well, you are a nut, right? He's also a VE for LARC, as well as ARRL, and he runs the Eastern Area Digital Radio Stations.
I am not one.
You are. I apologize.
Day's job.
So, he also works for Con Ed, or did work for Con Ed, and was a forensics engineer for Con Ed, and he brought a lot of expertise that we need for his engineering into the club to help us set up our radio stations and help the kids out. Our next member, if I go the right way, is Mike Riccado. He cannot be here tonight. Jerry's like our technical guy. Mike is our funder. Okay, he's the one that helped us get the station going. It was his spearhead that got us there. He is a board of directors of on the board of directors of the Hall of Science, a member of our club as well as the Hall of Science. He's a VE. He is also an entrepreneur, has about 5 or 6 different businesses that go around. And he is actually went to our school at Garden School, and that's why he wanted to bring that information to Garden School, because he was a student there years ago. And then you have me. My name is John. Okay, I'm the secretary of the Hall of Science. I'm an official relay station. I'm also the deputy coordinator for net operations for the New York, Long Island Sky1 program. A member of both our club, obviously, and the Hall of Science. I'm a VE. I'm also the science teacher, 22 years at the Garden School. And I've taught science, Lego robotics, almost anything the school's asked me to do, and you'll find out that's what I do, whatever they ask me to do. Sometimes I have to learn to say no. So, Garden School, it's kind of hard to see because some of our titles are up in the very top. But the Garden School Amateur Radio Club, how do we start? To give an idea, I had no idea amateur radio was about 3 years ago. Okay, I knew about it, but I really didn't know much. I'm a biology major, had no interaction with it, thought it was interesting, didn't do much. Mike Riccado was at the Hall, and he's a member of the Hall of Science, and the Hall of Science has some extra equipment that they needed to try to place somewhere through a donation. And he said, hey, let's try to get that at one of the schools he used to go to, from Queens College to Queens Community Center, or Queens Community College to Garden School, places that he went. He came to Garden School. He went to the board of directors at Garden School and the principal and says, hey, I think it'd be great to have a radio station at Garden School. Okay, somebody in Mike's clout, okay, alumni, multiple businesses comes in. What is the administration going to do? They're going to perk up when they hear that. And from that point on, they said, fine, we want a club too. So what did they do? They had to find a teacher. Nobody volunteered. So they volunteered me to come do it. Not licensed. Biology background, no electrical background. Okay, none. Had to go off and learn the stuff really quick. That's where people like Jerry came into play. Really fast, within 6 months, I had my tech and my general license so we can get that club up and running, because this happened in May. I had both of my licenses by September, so I can get the club up and running, okay, without those helps. But that's where the spearhead came from. We had to have somebody with a spark to bring it in. So that was Garden School, okay? We have won the blue ribbon for World's Maker Faire, working with the Hall of Science. And that is basically the top level at the Maker's Faire for our Maker's Key Kit. Later on, before you leave, we have an example of that kit over near our QSL cards. And if any teachers are here, I have some giveaways if you would like to. If I have enough for everybody, I'll give it to you, but I think teachers will be the ones who use it more to try to bring in their classrooms. We competed in the school club roundup, scored anywhere from all the different ranges, from 2nd place to 14th place. we started the New York Long Island Student Traffic Net, and that's to try to get more kids in. We'll talk more about that later. And as far as we know, we're the only school doing a student traffic net in the nation. We have not found anybody that has said they had one out there. And the goal is to get kids running the net. So right now our net managers are 6th and 7th graders, and they are actually running the net. Obviously sponsored by a licensed operator, but our kids are actually on the air, scripting it out, getting the traffic, passing it. That's what that net does. And this is our first year of running the Amateur Scholarship Fund. We actually have a scholarship, $500 to any graduating senior anywhere in the United States. So we're starting that this year. So let's go over to our recipe of how we bring amateur radio into today's youth. What was our recipe? Every recipe is going to be different, but this is our recipe. Here are the 4 topics that we had to do to get it in there. We had to make the school find the importance of it. And then sadly enough I'm sure when you guys go, very few people outside our little community actually understand what amateur radio is. They think you're Zach Morris on the air broadcasting your sports reports. They don't know what it is. They don't know the benefits of it. Yes, sir.
Oh, they confuse us with CB.
They definitely confuse us with CB. They have a lot. They don't really understand what we do. Okay? Thus, we need somebody that's going to bring that importance to the administration. Okay? Also, you're going to need some funding. Okay? As you guys know, it's not expensive, but it is going to cost some money to put antennas up, to get real estate, to be able to do all that. So we need somebody to help us with the importance and the funding of it. The technical support. This is where clubs like FairLawn and Hall of Science come into play. You guys have the technical support. Local clubs bring that expertise to help us do what we got to do. There's no way I could do the whole thing, even if I was a licensed operator when I started. Just too much to try to bring everything in at one time. You need the technical support that your clubs like you guys can bring to help the school set up a station. A big one is a dedicated teacher. You need a teacher willing to dedicate the time to do it. Not just, we had a club, I'll leave the name out, that was trying to start a student club. They came onto the student traffic net twice. They had one student on. The teacher, who was there supposed to be with them, called me up later on that night. He's like, yeah, I decided to see if my kid even checked in. I'm like, why weren't you there with your kid? You know, I didn't have time. Well, that type of dedication means, if you notice, if you're on the air much, that club's not on the air much anymore. The kid doesn't do it because they don't have a dedicated teacher helping the kids go through the whole process. The teachers are the ones that are going to create the enthusiasm. Clubs like you guys can do it, but you're only going to see them once a week. If you do a club event once a week there, you're going to only see the kids for 30 minutes. At my school, I see the kids, because it is a small school. I know every kid in that school. I see them at least 2 hours a day throughout the hallways, and I can talk it up to get that enthusiasm. Last thing is timing and luck. Sometimes it's just luck. Things fall in place right at the right time. For us, there was some luck in there that happened, as well as doing the right timing, knowing when to approach it at the right time to get it to go. Right after 9/11, right after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, we were able to approach the school more and more because we started doing National Traffic System traffic, and we were, with the help of the RRI and the ARRL, we were able to get traffic, some of our messages down to Puerto Rico, where they said we couldn't do it. But we actually were able to do it, and that gave the kids, with that timing, the kids fell in love with it. And then, once the kids loved it, what do you think happened with the administrators? They took notice. And now they were willing to help us out more. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this was where you guys among the students who were refused by some organization in RRI kind of picked you up?
No. We weren't the program.
Go on, Jerry. Yeah.
The RRI was talking to the Big Apple Net,
Okay.
but they ran into me. And I'm NPS all the way. I was prejudiced, I guess, because I've been involved since
Okay.
19 Okay, but the RRI is involved because they do a lot of the area traffic that the old area that's used to handle.
Okay.
But we're not a part of the RRI. Ozark, K2GSC is still NPS.
I didn't mean to overstep my boundary. Sorry about that.
No.
Yes, sir.
What is RRI?
Okay,
I'm gonna let him take care of that.
International. I'm not going to go into the politics, but there are two traffic system groups in action today. You have the Radio Relay International, and you have the National Traffic System of the ARRL, okay? And we're kind of competing a little bit, but we are working together on the cross-country traffic handling. So you can find more information on the net. I won't go into the politics, because politics is not my thing.
I never heard of them.
Okay, and that's not a bad thing, right? Huh?
I said, leave the politics for me.
Oh, that's you, isn't that why we hired you?
So,
That's why we hired you, isn't it?
Right.
Okay.
now, we are going to go into more detail in each of these slides now, the 4 points. We're going to go in more detail on each of those. And please, I think it's great when you guys are asking those questions. That really helps us out. Yes, sir.
The Guard School, is that a public or private school?
We are an independent school, so we get no state or federal funding.
What kind of tuition do you charge? What socioeconomic background do these kids have?
We charge $18,000, which when you compare this to other independent schools in the city, we're about a third of what other independent schools are, but it's just right for our style of kids. Our kids are ones that can just afford normally a parochial style school, but want to get away from some of the state and federal state testing that goes on. Because we're independent, we don't have to do that. Does that help out? So we get, but with our socioeconomics, we get kids that are, on food stamps, that get through there through a scholarship fund, all the way up to kids that their parents are giving them Porsches on their way on their 18th birthday. So we have a wide range of kids, which is different than a lot of these other independent schools where they're all really one-sided. We're a wide range from struggling all the way up to rich.
Where in the city are you located?
Okay, best way is LaGuardia Airport.
Okay.
We are about 1.5 miles from LaGuardia Airport, right on Northern Boulevard and 79th Street for the people. We go from nursery through 12th grade, and that's about 300 students from nursery through 12th grade. So we'll get more into the school too later, but it's because we're so small, very family setting style setting. My kid went there for 15 years. He's graduating this year, and he's been there for 15 years of his life.
And I thought the whole point of school was to take tests.
It does help sometimes.
The technician test, the general test, the extra test, those tests are good tests.
Yeah.
So let's move on to how we're going to get importance. Biggest thing is if administration doesn't find this important, nobody's going to do it. Okay? I wanted to do Legos. About my 4th year in teaching there, I wanted to bring in Lego robotics, where the kids build the little Legos and they go run the competitions. I brought it there for 3 years in a row. Let's do it. I got some of the funding. They didn't care. It wasn't until a parent came in and says, ooh, let's do Lego robotics, about 2 years after I finished trying. And then all of a sudden, a parent came in and said they wanted it. And what happens? The parents who pay the tuition are the ones that the school listens to. I'm not going to be hard. I don't want to be hard on the administrations, but they got to get the money. They got to be able to advertise what's going on. So if the administrators are going to look for, is this club going to be advertisable? Are people going to care about it when they do have a club? Lego robotics, a lot of kids are looking for Lego robotics. Our kids looking for amateur radio. Our parents looking that there's an amateur radio club. Not many people know much about it. So it's trying hard to get that interest in there to get the administration to see that, yes, it is really good. Us getting in the news last year, trying to get that traffic, even though I think sometimes some of the news reports were wrong about what they said we did, still got amateur radio into the news. And that was amazing because now people started understanding more and more what amateur radio was trying to do. Okay? So you got to get their attention. People that are going to do that are alumni, like Mike Ricardo, the other guy that's supposed to be here tonight. He got their attention. Parents are going to get their attention. Sadly enough to say, teachers normally aren't ones that are going to get the attention, but students, parents, and teachers. You get them on your side, and you get them to say, hey, we want a club. There's a good chance they're going to start one of these clubs up, just to try it out. Any questions on that type of financial, or the importance? That's the hardest thing, is to get the administration to see. I can tell you we've been there for 3 years, right?
Yes.
Do I think my administrators know exactly what our kids do in the radio club? They still don't know what amateur radio is. I just don't think they really do. They have a little bit of it, but they still don't really know. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have one question in regard to your administration. So at NYU Poly, we started an amateur radio club some years ago, but they insisted that due to funding, we combine it with another club that does internet radio broadcasting, which I found kind of weird. But we accepted that condition. Did the administration have those kind of conditions for you, or you did just allow you to set up a straight amateur radio club?
They came, maybe I can.
Go, yeah.
They came to us.
Yeah.
You can't get a better situation than having the school come to the club,
Okay.
okay? And that's the night that I got talked into getting elected. But he came in with Mike,
Yes.
and they said we have a school interested in having an amateur radio club. Okay, to a club president, that's got to be the greatest thing since sliced white bread, because now we have a potential customer. Now I'm sitting on a radio station that just had been donated by Fred Hurst. I don't know if it's K2CJP, if I remember him. Complete station. Here I have a school that wants a station. So what do? We put them together. Then we have a gentleman like Mike Ricotta who can help with some cash to build a radio room. The school had was a storage area.
Yeah.
But it was just the right size for our little station. A few donations from a couple of the club members, and now we have a radio station. And the youth, the young men and women that go to the school are watching us put this together. John's doing his magic, speaking to these young people, and we got a few people interested in coming to a technician class.
Right.
And the rest is history, because we built on that.
Yeah.
But how did the school initially learn about amateur radio? Was it just,
Mike Ricardo.
It was the alumnus, Mike
Yeah.
Ricotta.
oh, okay.
Mike came to a Hall of Science. He was a member of the Hall of Science. They were looking to place some of the stuff before Jerry became president. And they said, we need a place to put this stuff. Mike's like, why are we just sitting there with this stuff sitting here doing nothing in a storage container? Let's put it somewhere. So once you know him, he's a get it done person. So he goes to the school with the intention, garden school's gonna put it there. And, he did it. He got it there by talking to them. He also was able to fund it some. He decided to say, I want it in this room. We talked about which room. The administration agreed. He said, okay, I want it done by tomorrow. They said, well, we don't have the time. He's like, here, I'm going to give you my guys, because he has construction. Put his guys there. Bam. He just got it done. And so since the school was saying, you're putting it all there, you're doing most of the work, fine. You do whatever you need to. If that helped answer your question?
Yeah,
The
yeah, no.
interesting thing about it as well is the school is now using the radio station as a stop as they bring people in to show them the school.
Nice.
It's a tourist stop, or every now and occasion you might have. We do have a couple of licensed techs in the club, and they happen to be operating when you can't get better than that. A couple of parents walk by. There is nothing better than that.
I just really think that's remarkable, and my goal eventually is to present this to other clubs, and tell them, well, look, we need to be doing these steps, and this worked for them, so we could try it, and maybe we'll get a few more, and that's really great. So that's why I'm asking all this.
Yeah, that's what we want. I think that's where So, we get noticed. Now the funding. I don't think, knowing most of the amateur radio operators that I know, equipment's normally not going to be a big problem. From talking to the ARRL saying, hey, you guys have some equipment. They have a lot of equipment in some storage areas. If you know how to talk and you got the right people, I'm sure they'll be able to help. Clubs like you guys probably have enough members that you can scrounge up a transceiver. You can probably scrounge up an antenna. Even if you get a G5RV, they're talking about $85 for one of those antennas, some coax cable. We can get a whole station set up, you guys know, for not a killer price with some donations that go on. But you are, when you get the resources, and I scroll too fast.
Don't look to the schools to give you a lot of resources to get started.
Right.
Right now, schools don't have a lot of money. Like, we don't have a lot of money. But sometimes some clubs like we do get donations from the states, and I'll use that, and I'll direct it like we directed it in this case to the garden school. If it's a minimal charge or a minimal resources that the school has to give you, that, like you got this building, it's from I think it's funded by, not funded.
Town-sponsored.
The town set you up in the building, and same thing happened. The garden school set us up in the room. We put the pieces together, but again, you have to be very careful, because if you go to the administrators for cash and they don't have it, as president of Ozark, I can tell you a lot about that.
So, space in the school is one thing you're going to want to consider. Schools don't have a lot of space, So we took a small little closet that we were storage, and we were able to use that, and that was helpful. But you're not going to get a classroom that's going to be dedicated just for radio. Schools just don't have enough space to do that. If you're talking about a public school, even less space. Private schools normally have a way of finding it. So you're either going to choose, are we going to do this in a section of the classroom? Or are you going to do it in a dedicated space? Dedicated space, like Jerry was saying, really helps our school advertise. They're walking around. You'll see our station. We have this big sign, you know, K2 GSG sign as they walk by. It gets people's attention. If it's in the classroom, it's not as easy to be seen. So the school has a harder time advertising it, and thus they don't see the importance. So trying to get a dedicated space is helpful, but if I get it in my classroom, guess what? I can do a lot more with it in my classroom. Because now I have a room that can fit 30 people. My station can fit, we're lucky with kids in there, 5, 6 kids at one time in that small little room that we have. And you'll see it in a few minutes. So, access to the resources is important too. You know, you're at a school, how are we going to get access to the roof? How are we going to get access to the grounding equipment? Our kids going to have access to that. We had to hide our grounding rods so the kids don't get a chance to see it. We don't want them touching it. You know, the roof is a separate entity. They're up on the top. We're able to get access to it. But not all schools are going to want you to put an antenna up. As you guys know, sometimes trying to put an antenna up in your area, some people don't. That's where having a good idea with the clubs helps you out. Hall of Science is able to help with some of the legal aspects. And knowing your electrical, we would love to have another electrical line in our thing to run our linear, but we don't have that. But those are some of the equipment things you're going to need. The access is needed on a weekly, monthly basis, depending on what you're talking about. But most of you guys, since you guys run your own stations, you know the access that you're going to be needing for the station. Now the next one is the role of you guys, the amateur radio clubs. Okay? A station is not a one-person job. Can't do it by ourselves. One person can't do it. Let's say Jerry tries to do the station at Garden School by himself. He couldn't do it. Okay? It won't take off. It might last for a year. After that, going to go down. You need help. I can't do it as a teacher by myself too. We need to work together. I'm going to get the technical know-how from people like Jerry in the Hall of Science as well as from you guys. We're going to get analyzing equipment that I just can't afford for the school. Tuning antennas, repairing the equipment, helping support the teachers. Right now, our kids are trying to learn Morse code. You know, I had a long talk with the youth coordinator of Connecticut on how to do Morse code with our kids. Right now, we have our kids listening about 10 words a minute and be able to transcribe about half the alphabet right now at 10 words a minute. That's the help that you guys can help give. And there's a whole bunch more that clubs can do. Do you guys have more about what the clubs can do? Okay. The next idea is going to be what the teachers do. And this is one that I think, I'm not trying to float my boat, but if you don't have a dedicated teacher there, you're not going to have somebody that's going to try to take it under their wings. You're going to have a teacher that's going to do it just once a week. They're putting their 30 minutes in, but nothing else. I don't think the club's going to go very far. You need to find a dedicated teacher. And the amount of resources you're going to put into a school without a dedicated teacher is going to be a waste of your resources. Okay, there was that one school, which I'm not going to leave it out, got a whole bunch of funding to put in, and the teacher's just not there. They don't do anything. So now they have this great equipment, nothing's going on. And if it's your equipment, what do you want done? You want stuff done with your equipment, not just sitting in a school doing nothing. So we want to bring enthusiasm. I'm talking to my kids every day about it. Are you getting onto the net tonight? Have you applied for your scholarship? Walking around. Since we're a small school, I can talk to all the kids. You know, we had a kid last year made his own Tesla ray. You know, Tyler, he actually made his own little mini Tesla ray. He showed it off at the Maker's Faire and actually worked. You know, not the big death ray. I think he wants to build that one.
It was a Tesla coil that lit up a very small fluorescent lamp really well.
Yeah, but I do think he's capable of building the death one. Just he needs more power.
Scary, but
So,
good kid.
yeah. And he actually is now at Polytech. He's at your high school right now. Students relate more to teachers because they see them every day. They're going to see us, they're going to relate more to us, they're going to do more for us since they see us. And I can bring radio into the everyday teaching of my curriculum, which we started doing. As part of my 6th grade class, we're showing the kids how to hook up a mobile station with the super antenna. So the kids go out, they're going to hook up the super antenna during the day, take my radios over there, hook the coax cables up, and then start getting onto the air under my call sign, the Garden School's call sign. So they're going to learn how to do that. Once they start learning that, it makes more sense to them and takes away some of the fear that they have. Okay, and the biggest one is I'm a liaison. Administration who still does not really know what we do asks me lots of questions. And that liaison helps keep the going between the club as well as the administration between us. So I'm the liaison to keep everything smooth as it's going along. If you don't have that liaison, things are going to fall apart too. Any questions? Okay. The last one is the right timing. It is not always that everything will fall in its right place. Sometimes things are ready and in the right places, just got to wait for the right time. Okay? And nobody sometimes knows when that right time is. You know, but schools are dynamic and their needs change. You know, bringing this back about 10 years ago, unfortunately, you know, would not have been good when one of our students died at our school. You know, that would not be the best timing to have. But right after 9/11, when amateur radio was needed, that might be a better time than to get the administration's attention. Okay, so the dynamics happen that sometimes things were better, sometimes things are worse. You might have a new teacher in there. You know, what happens if I leave from that school? Is there somebody available once I leave the school to take over? Or is it just going to fall apart? Maybe a new administrator comes in. Administration comes in and says, hey, we like this really a lot. Or say, we don't have the money, sorry. We're going to focus, we need that room. Radio's not that important. So all this stuff could change at any time. All right? But the more you make it solidified, the less likely they're going to take it away from us.